So child, I see some more people on some scooters and I'm like, cool, let me get a scooter. Worst decision of my life, okay?
Is the general. Why?
Now when I went to LA, me and my cousin wanted to ride them scooters so bad, but we didn't because the timing just wasn't right. Like every time we tried to go, it was like, then we gotta be somewhere else, or we see a scooter but it is already paid for by somebody else. So like we was just like, whatever, we can't do it. Went to Miami, same situation. It just never fell in line for us to be able to ride these damn scooters. So I'm like, I'm in Atlanta, I see some scooters, I'm by myself, can't nobody stop me, you feel me? Can't nobody be like, oh, I don't want to ride. Can't nobody be like, we gotta go somewhere else. It was like, timing was right. Child, I paid for my little scooter, downloaded the app and everything. It was like one of those little city scooters, like they're like motorized or whatever, like electric. So I paid for my scooter. I'm looking around for the scooter that, cause I think when you download the app and stuff like that, and then like you go through everything, it gives you a specific like barcode number for the scooter that you should look for, or something like that. So I'm going around the block, I'm looking for the scooter, can't find the scooter. So now I seen, at one point, I had a little inkling, right? I was like, honestly, I'm about to just cancel the scooter ride because I can't find a damn thing. But I was like, let me just like see if I could pick up a random scooter. So now I go over to this random scooter and the guy's like, oh, this is paid for already. So I'm like, oh, I'm over it. Like as I'm walking back towards the aquarium block or whatever, and I see another scooter. So then I scanned it. I scanned my phone through the barcode for that scooter, and it came up that I could ride it. So I'm like, cool, like whatever. Get on the scooter, and I literally insert the footage that I took right before this all happened, right? So I cross the street. I'm like, ooh, this is different. Like, well, it took a little bit of getting used to for me. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm dodging through like poles and stuff and swerving around people. You know, I'm like, okay, I can ride this. Like, this is cool. Child, this is where it all goes down. I turn the corner now. Like, there's this like Olympic sign, right? Once you pass the Olympic sign, this is all by Centennial Park. If y'all know where Centennial Park is, y'all know what I'm talking about. As I'm passing that, I'm like swerving through these little poles that's there, but I was swerving through those and I'm like, ooh, kind of going a little fast. So I'm like, let me slow down. So now I start to slow down a little bit, but now I gotta turn the corner to get back to the aquarium, right? So I turn the corner to get to the aquarium. As soon as I turned that left, I literally started going down a hill. And I was like, what the actual hell? Like, I'm not about to ride down no hill because, baby, when I was younger, me and my sister was riding down the hill with some bikes and literally crashed into each other, and it was the end of it. I ain't really never rode a bike ever since then. I'm starting to go down this hill and I'm realizing that it's way too fast. And I'm like, oh my God, don't panic. I'm braking on the brakes of the scooter. I'm pushing it, and nothing's happening. Not stopping, and it's supposed to stop. Child, I'm like, all right, let me try it again. So I'm braking, nothing's happening. But I'm still speeding down this hill. What was going through my mind in a matter of seconds? As I'm riding down the hill, I'm gearing towards the end of that block. But like 5 or 6 people in front of me, like walking towards me, and I'm like, I'm going to hit these people. Like, I'm legit going to hit these people, or run into them, or whatever, right? But I see them starting to like make an opening for me. Like maybe 2 seconds after that, it would have been me driving into traffic, like head on into traffic. So literally, if I would have kept going straight, the traffic would have took me off. In my mind, I'm like, I have to make a split decision right now within a matter of seconds as to whether or not I'm going to dive into traffic with this damn scooter, or get off or jump off or something. And this is literally all in a matter of 3 seconds. Next thing you know, the scooter starts swerving. I literally remember my foot touching the pavement, and I literally flipped onto my face. Like, I was down on the floor. You know that feeling when you're falling, kind of feel like you're flying for like a split second? That's how it felt. So now I'm laying on the ground and I'm literally like, oh my God. Pain automatically in my right hand, the hand that's in this damn cast. I can hear is, oh my God, are you okay? Oh my God, you're good. Oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, oh my God, my arm. Like, that's literally all I kept saying. I was like, my arm, my arm. Then this white guy comes up and he's just like, let me get the scooter off of you. He picks the scooter up off of me. Somebody else is helping me up, picking up my stuff for me. As I'm getting up, this lady is like, you're bleeding. You're bleeding. Like when I tell you panicking, like she made me freak out. Get up. And I literally couldn't even hold my arm. Like the weight of my arm was just, it felt like it was on fire. I literally looked down and I saw my left arm was scraped up beyond belief. Like this is nothing compared to what I saw when it happened.
As this is all happening, I'm looking down to see where I'm scratched up, and all I see on the ground is brown skin marks from where I scraped my arm.
Dripping blood at this point, like dripping. I lost 2 fingernails and my hand was kind of cut as well, so that's dripping blood as well. And then she's like, oh my God, do you want a band-aid? Do you need help? Like, what do you want us to do? You want to call the cops? You want to call the ambulance? Blah blah. And I'm like, no, I'm fine, I'm fine. Now in my head, all I kept thinking about was, yo, my parents are gonna kill me. Like, that's all I kept thinking about. Forget my health. Forget the fact that my arm is probably dislocated. Forget the fact that I'm scraped up. All I kept thinking about is my parents are gonna kill me. Like, now, if you Haitian or you live in a black house and you get hurt, if y'all ever been a kid and y'all go to the park and y'all get hurt, now 90% of you wants to hide that pain because you don't want to get in trouble for getting hurt. Now, I understand that those of you who are not people of color might not understand that logic. Now, I'm a grown-ass woman. I'm getting no whoopings or nothing like that, but I ain't gonna hear the end of it, okay? And I ain't got time for that, especially when I'm already in pain. Like, just help me, right? I'm grabbing my bags on them and stuff like that. Mind you, I can't even hold my bags because both my arms is in pain. This arm does look worse, but this arm was like, I knew it was done. I knew something was broke. I knew something was sprained. Something was out of place. I knew something was wrong. Broke my arm before, this arm before when I was a kid. So, you know, in my memory, I'm like, okay, move your fingers, move your wrist, move your elbow, move your shoulder. Make sure that you can move some sort of body part because then you'll know if something is broken or, you know what I'm saying? And I'm putting on this tough show just so they could leave me alone so I could figure it out for myself because these white people had me freaking out. They're all white. I looked so cute that day and I was like, thank God I took my pictures already. That's literally the next thing I thought about. I was like, thank God I took all my pictures already because I was scraped up. My shirt was scraped up. My shorts had like road marks. Like, it was bad, okay? At this point, I'm panicking. The scooter is on the sidewalk somewhere, but I ain't worried about that right now. I know my time is running up and they probably charging the hell out of me, but I'm like, I don't give a damn. All I kept thinking about was I need to get back to my car so I could charge my phone because my phone is dying. I can't even call nobody. And like, I'm in the middle of nowhere by myself. Or like, I'm literally like, yo, this thing really wanted to fight because your girl all beat up. I'm posted up against the fence at this point. Literally just contemplating like, what the hell I'm about to do. I need to call my cousin. So I called my cousin, I FaceTime her, and I'm literally like, okay, yeah, don't know if you're busy, but your girl's a little scratched up. Just a little warning, okay? So I show her my arm, and she's literally like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? And I'm literally like, so I have fell off a scooter, but I'm okay. I'm just trying to, you know, let you know and see what I should do because at this point it's giving very much rush me to the ER. She's just like, send me a picture right now because her brother is a nurse. So I'm like, she's like, send me a picture so I can ask him like, should you go to the ER or should you just, you know, like, what should you do? Because my suggestion was that I was just gonna come home and we figure it out in private. Okay, I send her the picture. I see this guy walking towards me and like, hello, excuse me, like trying to get his attention to tell him, you know, to ask him if he could just move the scooter across the street for me so that I could stop the ride. Block that it was on a no park zone because it was next to the park. So he didn't even hear me talking to him. So he's just walking on by. So I'm like, all right, next subject. So, 2 other people come walking up and the lady got a stroller and she's with her man, I guess. And I'm like, hi, excuse me. And so they stop and now they looking at me and I'm like, hey, do you mind like doing me a favor and just taking the scooter and moving it across the street for me? Like, you know what I'm saying? The girl's looking at me like, huh? Like, what? Like confused. Do you mind like getting the scooter for me? Like, mind you, I'm talking with this arm like up towards her so she can see like I'm scratched up, like I just fell, you know what I'm saying? Like, help me out. She's just like, what? Like, confused, like, dummy, like, I'm asking you for help. Like, at this point, I understand that I was asking her for a favor, but it was kind of like, why you not understanding what I'm telling you? And I'm like, never mind. Like, so they walk off or whatever. I'm like, okay, forget about the scooter right now. Let me try to get back to my car. So I call the Uber, and while I'm doing that, I see family walking towards me. So I'm like, I stopped them, and I'm like, hey, do you guys mind? I just fell off the scooter. And as I'm explaining it to them, they're looking at my arm. They see that I'm bleeding, dripping, like, humans, hello. And they're like, oh my God, like, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I know I'm in a lot of pain, but I have to move the scooter because I have to stop the ride, like, you know. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't explain it to this dodo bird clear enough for her to understand what I was talking about, but I couldn't get the words out because I was in pain. It up, and they're like, do you want us to call the ambulance for you? Like, do you want us, like, do you need help? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're just bleeding here. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I already called the Uber. I'm going back to my cousin's house. They're like, okay, feel better. Like, I hope you're okay, blah, blah. And I'm like, thank you. You know, I appreciate that. The Uber pulls up. God forbid she'd have seen me. You know what I'm, like, the Uber driver would have seen me and been like, oh, she's bleeding. Like, I don't want to take her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, damn, then I'm gonna be really stranded and I already paid. So now I try to open the door and I'm like, yo, I can't even pull the door open. She drops me off and she's like, is this okay here? And I'm like, no, do you mind like just moving me as close as possible to the parking lot because I can't walk. Like, I'm getting out the car as fast as I can, but I'm literally moving slow as hell. Get inside the parking lot, and now I gotta remember where the hell I parked the freaking car. I'm walking around the parking lot for like at least 10 minutes just looking for the car, dripping everywhere I walk. Start beeping the alarm joint. Child, I get in the car and I literally just collapsed. I was like, in so much pain, like I just had to let it out. I didn't even have the strength to cry. Started the car, mind you, Atlanta was hot as a hell that day. Like, it was hot. So now my cuts and everything, heat, the sun being on my cuts, like the adrenaline wearing off, like now the pain is really starting to kick in heavy, like heavy, dog. I plug in my phone, need to get my seatbelt on, get the AC on because I'm hot as hell. As I'm leaving the parking lot, my phone finally turns on. I'm cooling down a little bit, but I'm still in so much pain. As I'm leaving the parking lot, they telling me I can't go because I have to pay for the parking, but I'm like, I paid for the parking like when I bought the ticket. Honestly, I was so over it. I was like, just charge my car. I just want to leave. I start driving and I'm like, yo, I have to drive like this for 30 minutes. Just man up, just get there. As I'm driving, I'm on the highway, I'm stuck in traffic. It's taking forever for me to get there, but I'm just not thinking about the pain because I need to get home. Like I need to get to her or whatever. Maybe like 5 to 8 minutes away from her house, this big ass storm starts. And I'm like, yo, what the hell? Like this cannot be my day. Like, I tell you, this storm was like no other. Like I've never experienced rain like this in my life. I don't know if Atlanta is just known for this type of like storm, but it started pouring. Like literally, I went from driving 70 miles per hour to like 15, matter of seconds. Like, the puddle was so deep, I felt the car swerving, in pain, so I couldn't hold the steering wheel that strong. It was beyond dangerous, honestly. Like the rain was so heavy that I couldn't even see like through the window shield. And in my head, I'm like, is this what Atlanta's giving? Like, because they didn't put this in the manual. It probably rained for like 5 minutes, right? Literally, it stopped. Like the rain just zoop, As I got up the highway, zoop, done. Like back in the rearview mirror, and I'm seeing like dark cloud is still back behind me, but in front of me it's just like clear skies. So I'm like, what in the devil? Finally get to her crib and I'm like, I'm outside. Literally, she's looking at me and she's like, yo, you look in pain. Like I look like I just got into a fight, like 4, 6, 7 girls, like took them on all by myself type joint, like got jumped. She's like, come on, we gotta clean the wounds. So she puts my arm over the sink and she starts pouring peroxide. I wanted to fight her. I literally was in so much pain, I couldn't even get words out. So she's doing that. She puts like betadine and like all types of like stuff, and she wraps it up for me and stuff. She gives me like, you know, painkillers for this arm because I could not feel nothing. I had a flight to catch the next morning. Packing, I'm literally looking at the clothes like, who's packing this? Like, how am I gonna zip this suitcase up? On the suitcase, zipping it up with one arm, screaming through it at this point, because it took me like 2 hours just to pack and fold everything. Like, I popped like hella pills and I knocked out. I woke up the next morning, but I woke up to pain. The pain woke me up. All I could think about was getting back to New York though. I had to wake up early because I had a lot to do that morning. For someone who's in this much pain and hadn't seen medical attention yet, like I had a lot to do. Okay, I had to drop off the car, put gas in it first. At that point, my mom had called me while I was eating. She said a little prayer with me. Child, you would have thought that that would have been the end of the story, but no, some more stuff gotta happen. So now I'm sitting by the gate. My gate number was D1A, and so I'm headed to my boarding gate. My cousin, he also works for the airport. I'm gonna come see you, blah blah. We said hi and bye because my flight was literally about to board. He's like, yo, you texted me that your flight is boarding, but I don't see it. And I'm like, why? Like, there's no plane pulled up. And I'm like, I know, like they keep calling for the freaking flight, but there's no plane pulled up. So I'm like, I don't get it. Like, so then after he left, the lady, I'm on FaceTime with my friend at this point. I see a lady from Frontier come to the podium at the gate where I'm sitting, and at D1A. And she's like, final call for a flight, blah, 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 heading to New York on Frontier. And I'm like, final boarding? Like, everybody's sitting out here. There's no plane pulled up. The trip was over. I was so over everything. I walk up to the front because the lady at the who printed my boarding pass, she's like, you didn't pay for, like, for Frontier, I guess you have to pay to put your bags on, like, the overhead bin. She's like, you didn't pay for it, but when I call for if anybody needs like assistance or something like that, you know, because I was all bandaged up, she's like, just come to the front and I'll let you on. Standing there, I realized it says the flight is going to Newark, and I'm like, that's odd. So I'm like, this is supposed to be going to LaGuardia. Like, I see this lady come up and she's screaming and she's like, yo, I'm like, what's going on, blah, blah, I gotta get on the plane, going ham. And she's like, they closed the flight, the doors is closed, we can't get on, blah, blah. There's mad of us over there going to New York. And I'm like, New York? So now I go to the gate she's talking about, and it's D1. Actually, what my boarding pass said, not D1A. Doors closed. Mad people standing over there that they're not letting in. And I'm like, yo, I'm so dumb. Like, I literally felt so stupid. And I see the plane still sitting there, but I'm like, I know they're not gonna let me in. I used to work at the airport. Like, I know how this goes. Like, they not opening this door. So this girl doing all this hooting and hollering over here, like, just save your breath. I'm like, when's the next flight? And she going to New York. And she's just like, tomorrow, same time. Maybe I could still take that flight to Newark. They transferred our flights real quick, real easy, no payment needed. I board the plane and I'm like looking at one of the flight attendants. I'm like, hey, do you mind helping me get the bag up in the overhead bin because I can't pick it up with my arms? And she's like, yeah, I'll help you. I'm not supposed to, but I'll help. I'm like, no one asked all of that. Like, it's either you gonna help me or not. And at the same time, like, you see my arms is bandaged up. What was the point of that whole disclaimer? Like, and she helps me put my stuff up there and I sit in my seat and I had the middle row. I just hope the person that's sitting next to me hit me. We literally came to the house, dropped my stuff off, went right to urgent care. So I get to urgent care and basically in my head, I'm more worried about what's going on with the arm that I can't, you know what I'm saying, feel, because that's what's bothering me right now. I can always repatch and rebandage my other arm, but I need to figure out what's going on with this one. They basically told me that the x-ray technician wasn't in and radiology was closed, so I couldn't get my x-ray to figure out what was on my arm, but they were going to see if they can just, you know, properly rebandage the arm that was, you know, bloody and stuff. The nurse comes in and she's trying to take off the gauze, but it's literally stuck to my wounds. Yeah, imagine. The gauze that my cousin used on my arm, it wasn't non-stick gauze, because when your body is healing, it starts to close up and it, you know, sticks together. So when you have gauze or any sort of fabric on top of it, it's going to think it's skin and kind of melt together. It was just excruciating trying to peel that joint back. And then the following day I was able to go get x-rays, and that's when they told me that my arm was broken. It was like, yeah, you fractured your elbow and you sprained your wrist, so they had to cast me up. Literally casted from right under my shoulder all the way to my fingers. And with that, I've had like topical creams to put on. This one, this actually looks way better. I'll keep you guys posted. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave it in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure your post notification bells are on. Bye guys.